Yeah, I've gone. So,
Okay, it is, I was gonna say 7, it's 6 o'clock, and I'm calling the Symonds Way Exploratory Committee to order. We have a very brief agenda tonight. It's discuss and potential vote on the RPPA proposal, which we saw at our last meeting. And then there's 2 other items that are always on here, future agenda items and approval of minutes. So I guess if anyone, I think, Andrew, you missed the last meeting, I remember, or we
I
on
had to leave
Zoom?
in the middle.
Gotta leave in the middle. So I guess, do you have any questions or, some of the members of the RPPA are here as well, or are you good?
I saw some of the RPPA proposal. I read in the minutes because I wasn't here for it, that it went before FinCom and that it was not approved at their vote. And then I was reading, trying to understand the discussion with the Edge Sports proposal
The RFI?
for the RFI.
we didn't get too far on that, right?
So I was a little disappointed to hear that, but I wasn't there, so I guess that's for the best, but
Yeah.
I'm a little confused why we have this big pickleball push, yet we have an RFI on the table that's not being engaged.
Right, so a lot of things, I think, I'm just speaking from what I understand, a lot of things happened at once, not intentionally, like things came about with that, what do you call it, private, even though it's not private, we own the land, with the Burbank Ice Arena. So given how long projects take, Birch Meadow is an example in funding, I think pickleball players in town were looking for a home since it was taken out of the master plan. And that's when the conversation started, not by me, with the pickleball players and the Ice Arena Authority. And so obviously we know based on the RFI and based on where they want the courts behind the rink, that we would have to amend the lease for that. The select board would have to amend the lease to allow that. And also the Ice Arena would have to agree to amend the lease for any project that involves a private-public partnership using that land.
I understand that.
Yeah, so I think, do I know exactly the order of things? No, but I think they're looking for a home in town. We can't go to the parks. They pulled back on all the parks. And kind of Jenna gave us a little chronology last night after we had the neighborhood park meetings, with Sturgis and Washington, how they didn't want pickleball because of the noise and parking. So I think that was after it was pulled out of the Birch Meadow Master Plan. It's my understanding.
Okay.
Can I just say too, I don't think that one excludes the other, because if you look at the warrant article, it says, subject to successful negotiations of lease with the Burbank Ice Arena Authority. So it's dependent on that no matter what. I don't think one excludes the other. They're both happening simultaneously. And clearly, if the RFI moves forward, then there goes the pickleball option.
There's still gonna be pickleball.
Well, the court's in that space.
Go ahead.
I just want to say a couple of things, and I think that's where your confusion is. I certainly am not against pickleball. I think pickleball courts there is probably a very logical place. I just think it's timing. I think this, warrant article at this town meeting is premature, in my opinion. We haven't, as a committee yet, looked at all the options, and our job is to recommend to the select board what the possibilities are. It's not our job to say pickleball courts go there. So I personally am having a hard time giving a 100% go ahead with what they want to do with this warrant article. What I would suggest is that we love the option. We think it's a great idea, is how I would say it. But I can't say to town meeting that I necessarily support it at this point in time, because I think it's premature. I'd like to see all of this on the table. We use our criteria that we spent to determine what makes most sense for what location. Rank order all the things that we've now learned through all of our work on this committee give it to the select board and say, this is what we think. Yeah, pickleball courts make a lot of sense there because it fits in this ranking, but we haven't done that yet. So I would suggest that from a warrant article standpoint, I would love to see it back at spring town meeting, because I think then it's really the time. We will be done with our committee. The select board will have a chance to take a look at what the options are. Maybe they'll have a chance to take a look at the RFI and decide, yeah, that's great, it's pie in the sky, but it's not gonna happen for several years. By then, the senior center will have had its feasibility study done.
Hopefully.
Yeah, so all those puzzle pieces will be in a better place to say, hey, great, go for it. Let's use that money in that way. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, that's fair, Chuck.
So I have a question for Fidel. I know our
Hey,
PPA doesn't like to refer to it as a temporary solution, but I'll call it that for the moment, because that based on, what's your best real guess that if we're to move forward or some level of that RFI, when would we actually have a shovel in the ground if we agree to something under an RFI? Are we talking 4 years, 5 years, 2
10,
years, 10? I don't know.
Who knows?
And so Nancy, I guess from that standpoint, I think this gives us an opportunity to stopgap the pickleball situation.
Absolutely.
And it wouldn't take away from our ability to, I guess, continue down the road with whatever the RFI comes out with. Because I don't think the ICE authority is saying we can have that parking area in perpetuity anyway, right?
Well, it hasn't been settled
Or,
yet.
yeah.
There's no.
no,
case.
no, they're holding all the cards.
Yeah.
For the RFI, for them,
Everything.
everything, right? And that's why we expanded the charge to encompass
So we know what
a
to do.
bigger area, because holistic view and all those fun words on what's the best use and whether it's private, public, whether it's we run it and ask for money and fund it accordingly. I think everyone is in agreement.
It's perfect.
Everyone is in agreement, including recreation. I mean, I'm not gonna speak out of turn.
Perfect.
Everyone is in agreement that is a location.
Yeah.
So
It's just timing.
given what you said and given what Chuck said, their efforts have been ongoing for years.
Yep, yep.
We're lucky to have Memorial Park.
Yep.
Right, which is, 4 courts. Pickleball is pretty much taken over, tennis does use it in the spring for programming. And that cuts into it a little bit, but that's fine. Every right to use that park. I would love to propose, not here, but let's make those 4 courts 6 courts, because there's room there. Okay, but will that be allowed? Who will speak up against that? So we all know it's going Simon's way. So I'm in the same train of thought as Chuck, as far as let's try to fill the need and the demand that's there, because this is gonna go to the high school level eventually.
Yep.
And 4 courts is not adequate. So that's where,
I agree with that 100%. I just think it's timing. I think we haven't given enough. We haven't even talked about the RFI yet.
Right.
We haven't even looked, so when we recommend to the select board, I would like to bring in a package that says, this is gonna fill the need. I don't know when these courts are gonna get built anyway, probably not till the spring at the earliest, given how things work around here. But I would love to see us just take a pause, do our job, and then make that recommendation, so that we've actually done our job. I don't see that we've done anything here, other than here the dog park and all these
Right.
proposals, but we haven't really,
Town meeting's gonna vote on it whether we
Yeah,
say
that's right.
to or not, and it's
But I
just
don't
a
think it's
matter of
correct.
whether they're gonna agree to I think it's just shy of $200,000 appropriation, I guess, it's from the Ice Arena Authority Fund.
Andrew?
Yeah, just to tag along on this, I find the whole thing a little off, to be honest, procedurally. I understand what we're trying to do here, but it's a little frustrating to be sitting here for our third time in the past couple months about talking about pickleball. It's not the process. It's not a very fluid process. It just feels like we're being pushed and I don't even understand what you want from us, because you don't need our vote to get this moving forward. So I'm very baffled about what is happening here.
Well,
I feel like we're being pushed.
they've been pushed around too.
I feel like we're being steamrolled, and I keep
No.
going through my head like I'm being pickleballed. I'm being
No.
like, I don't like
You would
it.
enjoy being pickleball. You would enjoy it.
Yeah, you would.
I'm a fan of racket sports, but I just do not like the way this is happening.
Well, I think I'm not gonna speak for anyone but myself. I think the way it's happening is because they've been advised and told to go before certain committees. And we've been charged by the select board to, as Nancy said, bring recommendations to the select board. And, correct me if I'm wrong, the four of you, I don't see us saying that we want pickleball, amend the lease at Burbank for a temporary reason. I don't see us saying that. So that's why they're trying to, bridge that long-term, whatever's gonna happen over there. We're waiting for the ice arena to have a meeting to vote on what the Edge proposed. Because if the ice arena and the pool are not welcomed over there, we have to go back to them and say, hey, do you wanna come back to us with another proposal? Because their main two monetized things were a sheet of ice and a pool. So if the board says, ice arena board says, gee, where does it make sense to put the ice? Probably behind our building. We would have to amend the lease and agree to that. From what I've heard, they're not gonna wanna do that. But again, we haven't heard from them.
And with all due respect, I don't even know that they should have a meeting at this point in time. This was just for our purposes to know what possibly could be put in that site. We're just here as vessels to say, oh gee, we've got all these different ideas. We're gonna rank order the ideas based upon our criteria that we've spent. And then we're gonna say, here's select board, these are what we found out that are nice uses, good uses. Select board can then ask the ice arena to look at Edge if they decide that's something they wanna do. The select board can say, oh no, we're just gonna have pickleball courts there, forget the Edge results. I mean, I don't know, that's not our job. Our job is to rank order and tell the select board what we think is a good use for that site. It's not up to me to say what the actual use is gonna be.
No, I agree, but I'd rather hear from if the ICE authority.
They're gonna have to get involved, no doubt
Right,
about
so
it.
if I don't think we need to wait for them. I'd rather have them be proactive and tell us so we can flush out this RFI, not wait 6 months, let the board meet at their annual meeting.
Well,
and
that's up
say-
to them, but I would
Right.
say it might be too premature because the select board could say, yeah, we don't wanna have a lease arrangement based upon what Edge is saying. Honestly, I mean, it may not work at all, for all I know.
We can do what ifs all day long. I know what you're
Yeah,
saying. I know what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
We
So
can do what
it's-
ifs all day long.
Yeah, so I think that to exclude Edge before even hearing from the select board as to whether it's even something that should be looked at is again premature. I think all of this is premature. We have to go through the process. And I don't feel like this committee has done any process at all
Well,
at this point in time.
But we're at this place because, correct me if I'm wrong, because the select board told them to talk to us, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and we've heard it
So-
and I agree. I think it's a great use for that site. And I would have no problem supporting it. I just think we haven't done our due diligence yet to say what else is gonna go in there. Same thing with the dog park. I think it's a great use for that site is the dog park. Perfect use. Is Edge a perfect use? I don't know yet. We haven't talked about it.
I don't know either.
So those things we haven't talked about. So when we go to the select board, if we go to them and say, these are the uses, this is based on our criteria from rank order, we think pickleball is top of the list, forget Edge, go there. We're never gonna say that, but we're gonna give them a really strong opinion of how we think that site should be used, and that's really what our job is. How is that site best used? There's so many things up in the air right now, and we haven't really spent a good idea of rank ordering it. I mean, I don't know. Right now, I'm thinking pickleball is a great use for that site. I'm also thinking, gee, the dog park's a great use for that site. additional
It's not one or the
fields.
other.
Yeah, no, it's not, exactly, I think
And
having,
then some.
and then
There's-
some,
There's other.
That's right,
the
and maybe
pickleball's
the
only a
RFI
small
exactly.
splinter of it.
And maybe the RFI told us that, gee, that's too big a facility for that spot. I don't know, we haven't talked about it yet. So I'd like to have that conversation and really finish this committee.
Yeah, we're gonna have that
And
conversation.
end this committee
No one's
with
saying we're
a
not gonna have it.
report.
Well, that's what I'm wondering at this point.
When do we end? Yeah.
Maybe it's asking too much of us and the pickleballers to figure out how to solve it all. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot on the table. If we go with something like Edge, they're gonna take on the planning role. 'cause
That's right.
That's their job and we're gonna put it in their hands, and that does make me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I don't think from the way we're working that we're capable of making, I don't like I don't like the way the warrant is worded about
Yeah.
we're gonna wait till spring, and if it's not resolved by then, we're gonna push or not push. It's just, it frustrates me and I find it not helpful. You guys don't like the temporary word. It doesn't have to be temporary if you could put a solid proposal down that makes use of the land in a way that is thinking bigger than what it is right now.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't totally be on you because
And we haven't decided
there's other things on the table that have nothing to do with you, dog park and other fields and
lacrosse, we
it's
talked about
lacrosse.
lacrosse.
But I
Thanks.
think that's too much for us to handle too. I think my recommendation would be if either we go with some private-public partnership like Edge, which seems to be the only one on the table right now.
Right.
Or we bring in a planner, not an architect, a planner.
Right.
To help us think through all the options and how to fit them on that site.
Right, and like for me, like what Chuck asked, that is years, multiple years. It's not next year, it's not the following year, it's years.
Potentially.
Well, given our history with Birch Meadow and other things, it's years.
You could plan it, not necessarily build it, but it could be well planned so that you know what the next steps are.
Right.
That's what a planner will do.
Yeah, and Birch Meadow was well planned and
Right.
look how long that's taken.
Exactly.
That's all I'm
That's-
saying.
Yeah, exactly. But that planner hasn't been done. And so that's all I'm saying is I just find it early. I have no problem with pickleball courts there. I would love to see them there. But at this point in time, to say, yeah, go ahead, spend 200,000 on it without giving everything else its consideration, I have a very hard time saying that. And I don't mind going to town meeting and saying, I really love the idea, guys, but can it wait till spring?
And $200,000 isn't chump change. I mean,
Yeah.
then we're gonna have to remove it, right? Supposedly down the line if something else happens. So we're talking
Maybe.
$250,000.
Maybe.
This is a temporary thing. Yeah, maybe. But I think everyone would be happier if we follow the process and potentially it's a permanent solution. And
Well,
you,
that's the goal, though, obviously, that's the end goal.
yeah,
That could be 10 years from now.
So, well, I believe we have vetted things throughout this year that we've been working together. We did put out an RFI, we got one proposal. It's a marketing plan, that's all it is, it really didn't say much. And to me, that RFI requires a lot more ifs are part of that. And plus, when you think about it, they said in their marketing plan that it could be shovel-ready within a year, which we know is not historical in this community. It took, 10 years to get Birch Meadow going? So we have vetted a lot of things. I have heard repeatedly, I heard at the rec meeting last night, the chair even said, I even took down his words, he said, we all agree that Symonds Way is the best place for pickleball courts. At the FinCon meeting, I watched that meeting, as I desperately want to do something for the senior community. The one thing they did say, if they had more skin in the game, it would be a slam dunk, meaning if there had been more money raised by RPPA. Other people said, we want this to happen. I don't see why we don't move this ahead. It's not coming out of free cash. Everybody is saying Symonds Way is the best location.
Right.
And so to me,
Where on Symonds Way?
that's not up to us to decide. We're
Well,
moving.
they have decided.
Oh, well, okay, but that's
That's
up
all
to,
I'm saying.
it's up to town meeting, whether or not they approve it. And then we are going to go to the select board and make our recommendations based on our vetted process. Because again, Nancy, you brought up a great point. We shouldn't have that RFI proposal just to us. It should go before the select board.
it should come before us first. I don't even understand why we're so willing to invite the pickleballers they've been here multiple times, we have a proposal, they're interested, I'm interested. I have a swimmer and I have a potential
I
hockey player,
suggested
and I
that
think
at
it's
the
a
last
great thing
meeting
this
and
town
I
would
was
use.
told that it should go right to the select board.
That's nonsense. Why are they here then? It makes no sense. It's absurd and it's
It's
frustrating.
not, it wasn't
not.
my idea.
No, I know, I'm here, I wanna eat dinner, but I'm here talking about this where my vote means nothing, when I wanna hear from this RFI and we're just pushing them off. So they're gonna get the message that we're not interested, which maybe is what we want. I think it's what you want,
Well,
but
do we
it's not what I
benefit with a
want.
public-private partnership?
We
That's-
could, we don't know
I-
until we talk to them.
That's to me, one of the big ifs. And again, a huge if is what is the Burbank Ice Arena going to say?
Of course, I'm not saying I have the answers, but I'm interested. All I'm saying
And
is
I
I'm
think
interested.
before we get the RFI to come before us, we have to hear from the Burbank Ice Arena.
I think we talked to both. Yes, this has to be handled tactfully. It's a bit of a chess game, but, and it seems like the pickleball has their support, but still, I think it's an interesting proposal. It's very early.
What's interesting about it? It's too, it's.
Have you
it's
tried to
too
go
up in the
swimming
air.
in this town? I have to go to
Have you tried to-
Haverhill and go to all
Have you
over the
tried to play
place.
pickleball?
I
this
bring
summer?
my son to North Andover to play hockey. It's nuts. We have the demand for these things in our town. And it was showing on the survey. It's not just me saying
Right, the
this.
survey is pretty
I mean,
clear.
No, and we can do things ourselves as a town,
And they aren't exclusive.
but that stuff is very expensive. We could do another sheet of ice, right?
That's-
These ifs.
Yes, yeah,
These
exactly.
ifs, right? You're right, the demand is there. So, we're a big hockey town and all the surrounding towns in the area that we're in, North Shore or north of Boston is a big hockey community. So, yeah, but does the ice arena want competition? Or do they wanna manage another sheet of ice? Again, these are all things that are up in the air. So
They're not exclusive of pickleball. There's
Right.
other places
Right.
on
It's
that
not
site
exclusive.
correct.
that can be pickleball. It
Correct.
doesn't have to be behind them.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. But they had a conversation with the ice arena that didn't involve us or the town, and that's where they went. And that's what happened. So I'm not, gonna debate the pros and cons of that. That's what happened. And, because they want to move pickleball forward, and I think that's admirable. But yes, it is a process, right? And, this committee got delayed. The start of this committee got delayed because of, we didn't want to compete with the senior center community proposal.
Yeah.
Right, so I wanted to start this months before that, to start the process, and after conversations, we delayed it. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I understood it, right, to not compete. And now I know what that RFQ is gonna come back. Oh, Symonds Way is a great site for a senior center at $50 million. Hypothetically. So again, so now okay, residents, $50 million for a senior center, 40 million, whatever it is, it's not gonna be 10 or 20. Are you gonna support that? I don't
But
know.
the point is, the town hasn't made that decision yet.
Correct. I know.
And now we're putting pickleball courts at a tune of 200,000 in a place where that might be the place. That's all I'm saying. It's
Correct.
premature. We need a few more steps before everything goes forward with the pickleball courts. That's all I'm saying. I'm not against it. I love the location or that in Symonds Way. I don't know if right now, it's easy to do right behind the Burbank Ice Arena because it's the only flat part. But because it's the only flat part, it's one of the best places for a lot of other things too. So all I'm saying is, I think we need to finish out our job and make recommendations, look at the whole site as a total, look at the things that have come in as possibilities and discuss them without a motion, and then tell the select board, this is what we're suggesting happen. And
I don't
let them
disagree.
then
I don't disagree with that, of course.
Decide that the 200,000 out of the Burbank Arena Authority is a good thing to spend. That's fine. I mean, maybe that 200,000 to go towards a planner to make sure that,
But yeah,
yeah, no, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, why can't that be part of a planning effort by the Burbank Ice Arena to say, look, we can do this with this site? And that's not a bad thing either.
because I can envision a community center, dog park, pickleball courts,
All sorts of stuff there.
in that site. I mean, that's feasible and it makes sense and there's things on the table right now, we could put that in front of the select board and if they wanna hire a planner to try to figure it out, or they wanna work with Edge, but I don't really see us really kind of talking, I agree, I think we're kind of at a point where we're not really moving things, we're just kind of slowing things down. So I think those are our two things on the table and we're almost ready to, but I think we need to hear from the RFI.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't think we're slowing things down. I know what you mean, but I think, yes, we should, they should, do not the marketing piece they propose, but a kind of an idea of what they have, or maybe other options, plan A, plan B, not just a sheet of ice and pool, field house, this, that, whatever, and say, what's feasible for them, right? It's the bottom line, right? Given this amount of space, we still have to deal with I call the Zani property, environmental stuff,
Yeah.
right? Still have to deal with that. I'm assuming the rest of the property is clean. I'm assuming that,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So there's a lot of ifs. But I think I wanna send the right message, and I think it's been said numerous times at Recreation. I wasn't there for the Finance Committee discussion, on this issue. But someone from our PPA mentioned last night that they didn't like the word temporary, solution, and of course they want permanent, of course they do.
Yeah, that's
They
fair.
want 8 courts with lights, just like what Birch Meadow had.
Yeah.
Right, and that's warranted, so
I
We're
mean,
gonna
the
finish our
only-
process.
The only thing that the finance committee should be weighing in on is the financial aspect of it. They shouldn't be drawing value judgments on whether.
I'm not saying they did, I don't know
Pickleball courts.
what they said.
And I think, to your point, the temporary is, they're looking at it as wasting money, because we're gonna tear it up at some point, and that's just a decision that town meeting has to make. Do they wanna do that so that there's pickleball sooner rather than later? And that's really the only, we have 2 separate discussions going on here, and they don't have to be together. Or what are we gonna do with the RFI? And what are we gonna do with what was punted to us, the pickleball discussion? Cause it really doesn't fall within the purview
Correct,
of
Correct.
SWEC,
I think it's,
unless it's part of the RFI.
I think it's come to us several times, Andrew, because we've been charged with that land.
Yeah.
Right, that's the main reason, I can't think of any, right, if we didn't expand our charge, then we're only talking about the right side of the property,
Right.
and that's it. Right, and that conversation wouldn't even involve us, it would have been Ice Arena and Select Board. But because we included that property and expanded the charge, we kind of got lumped in.
I'm fine that we're here, I just don't like the process of that we're voting, or potentially have this vote. I wanna hear the pickleball proposal, I wanna hear it become more filled up but we need to help them through to make it a good use of that land. Cause that, part of the reason why it's temporary seems fitting is just because there's so much there, there's so much potential. And we have the community center potentially coming down the line, and that would prefer to be on the flat land with parking but I don't think I don't know what the community center is gonna come back as. My idea of it could be relatively modest in size, and then you could still have plenty of space there for parking and pickleball. And then you would find a place for a dog park and other fields, but I'm having trouble making sense of it all, I'm sure we all are. But
Listen, for me, the number one priority in this town is killing right now. Oh, Michael.
So, I'm Mike Coleman from the Pickleball Players Association. I think that I really understand the concerns about trying to get the timing right. And I understand the challenges that this committee has with the RFI and the ICE authority and all of the other things. There's lots of land at Symonds Way, and we think that that's an ideal location for pickleball. I think if I had it I had $10 for everybody who said that.
Yeah, you probably
We'd
be
have a
rich.
lot of money.
You'd have $200,000 by now.
But right now, the RPPA is planning to table this citizens petition and put it off until you guys finish your work and we can deal with the select board and try and get a location. We desperately need a location for pickleball in town. You know, we're anxious for all of you to play. It's a lot of fun. And we think Symonds Way is really the best place. And that parking lot is a very nice place and it shields noise and all sorts of other things, so it's great. I'm also on the recalc committee, so I'm sympathetic to the notion of a community center, senior center kind of thing. I've looked a little bit at the RFI. I don't know anything about that. It seems like it's kind of shoehorned into a space that doesn't, I don't know how else you fit all that in there. Because there are the fields out there and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Just add a couple of things. We by no means meant to steamroll anything. We were offered this by the ICE Authority when SWEC was first forming, before you included all the land. So we just figured, we asked for advice, what do we do, how do we move ahead? We were invited here, invited here, invited here, invited here. We were invited to come here. We're not pushing ourselves on anybody. So we didn't mean to be steamrolling. We're trying to figure out what the process is. We don't know, none of us on the board know how to do this. We just want to play pickleball. So we've kind of fallen into this mode. I also have to add that we've gotten a donor for $100,000 towards our course.
Fabulous.
So we intend to also do a lot of fundraising and maybe match that amount on our own, so we don't have to ask town. We're trying to be good citizens. We're trying to do all the right things, and we're learning as we go. So we by no means to be confrontational, or push things out of order, or mess up the timing. We're just trying to figure out what to do and how to do it.
But the one thing I would add is that we really need more courts in town. And Symonds Way appears to be, we have really tried to look all over town, and it seems to be the only place that is acceptable to all the neighborhoods and all the communities and everything else. So we're anxious, we really would like this committee to make a recommendation to do all the other things that can go there, a lacrosse practice field, a dog park, pickleball courts, a community center. But a really important piece is the pickleball court.
No
And the key also in a big plan is, and I was on the Birch Meadow planning, one of the Birch Meadow planning sessions. It gets built in pieces. It doesn't all get done at once. So if pickleball's ready to go, then let's get that done. But the town would be used immediately. And the dog park might get used by 10 or 20 dogs.
But it will also get used immediately.
It will get used immediately.
Yeah, and they have money too,
They have
so
money.
there you go. Whoever
So
has
that-
money is gonna
Right.
get built, yeah,
And but
no
the money
doubt.
that we've projected we need, the 200,000, is because it's a flat level
Yeah,
parking
I
place.
know.
If we have to do any land prep, cutting down trees, clearing space, it will not be 200,000.
With the environmental remediation that might be required in the senior land.
It will
No
be much
doubt.
more, right?
No doubt,
Right.
yeah.
So
What our main question for you guys is, as it sounds like you will be doing, can you support pickleball enough to propose it to the select board that pickleball is there at Symonds Way?
Oh, you got my vote, I'm sure, yeah.
And
There's
we'll-
no
we'll
doubt,
start- okay.
that's a great site. It was the timing that I have issues with.
Yeah, I mean,
And the timing is we were
Yeah.
thrown into it, all of a sudden,
Yes,
the ice arena says,
Right,
oh, you want this land? We said, well, that's fantastic. We thought the town would say, after all this talk since 2016 or 17, where are you gonna put pickleball? we'd tell the town would say, hooray, you solved our
And they
problem.
probably will.
And instead we're getting beat up and we're trying to do the right thing. So it's
we
been
did
an eye opener.
We did a survey at the outset of when this committee started, and, you know, at least I'm speaking for myself, I wanna be very mindful of what came back in that survey and make sure it comes to the top. And, you know, pickleball was one of them, lacrosse practice area was another one. I mean, so we can't just decide amongst ourselves, well, we don't want those things, we wanna do something different.
Right, but pickleball was not listed on your survey.
Oh, I think it was.
It was-
It was recreational in
Right.
courts, but not
But there
specifically
was,
pickleball.
there was,
A lot of
there
people
was
wanted
a,
to
We wrote it
there
in.
was write-in, yeah.
But if it had been a check off.
It
of
was very
pickleball,
clear to the, I think to the committee that
Pickleball was right up.
Even though it wasn't saying, do you want
Yeah,
pickleball courts,
yeah, yeah,
check
at
that.
the time,
It's
yeah.
just, you would have gotten more response, I think, if
Yeah.
you said, people put courts, meaning pickleball, when it didn't specifically say
And the
it.
one other thing I would like to remind the group is that pickleball had been in the Birch Meadow Phase 2 plan and it got taken out.
Out of respect to the neighbors.
And it's probably a good decision, okay? I'm
Yeah, we're not
complaining.
under that decision.
I'm just saying that it got taken out of there.
plus it
It
wasn't
hasn't
the
gone
number of courts that you're looking for here, right?
There was eight.
I
It was
would
eight.
say
Oh, was eight?
It was
Okay.
eight.
Oh,
But it's-
And the other thing I would like, that there was a lacrosse hit wall that was in Phase 1 of the Birch Meadow plan that's now been built. I'm pretty sure it might be ready to go now. I'm not, it might still be fenced off. I don't know. It's a
I
construction.
haven't been over there.
we saw a picture of it last
So-
night.
You know, things are getting done for
Exactly, and that
lacrosse and-
might solve that need
and we-
at this point in time, yeah.
All I'm saying is that things,
Yeah.
you know, you don't have to have the whole plan,
All at once, right,
But-
yeah.
but
well,
within-
every I dotted and all the Ts crossed to say, yep, this is the place, let's go.
Because in addition, taking the courts out of the Birch Meadow plan, there's some asphalt there that has pickleball lines for 4 courts. That's gonna be dug up to put basketball courts. And people do use those 4 courts, even though they're very basic, not quite big enough.
Very dangerous.
People use those. I know a group plays 3 nights a week anyway, all summer long, all fall. So that's also gonna increase the
The
need.
need, yeah.
So that's why we were so excited to get the offer from Symonds Way, from Burbank Ice Arena.
So anyway,
So
Yeah,
Michael,
I got a meeting at 7, so we gotta wrap it up
can I
soon.
ask? So Michael, in your statement, I think in the middle, you said you're pulling the
We're gonna
tabling,
table it to potentially, if we need it in April, we'll table it for November.
so there's no
No, we're
need
to-
for us to
to
we
vote.
don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
No, this is the first
So
ever.
sorry,
This is the first I've heard of it, so yeah.
We
Yeah,
wanted
no,
to
that's
say
okay.
this
Yeah.
to let you understand where we're coming
I
from.
appreciate that very much, I
Thank
think that's great. And come spring, vote if you need it.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm new to this process too. I know it's kind of moved by committee is slow and tedious. And it is hard to figure out how to make sure you get heard, so I understand that part of it.
Yeah, and when excuse me real quick, when we started this committee, this wasn't going on. The conversation between, you know.
No, it wasn't even on our survey, I mean, it
Right,
really.
so that's what I mean, so a lot of things happened off to the side at the same time. So that's why they've been tossed around like a pickleball to all these different places, right? You know, dink here, dink there, right? And then, and last night was very robust, meeting, and, you know, there was more people, some of the same people are here tonight that were there last night, and, you
You
know.
probably just reduced town meeting to 2 nights.
Yeah, I was gonna say thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the other thing we have to acknowledge is how long things take. For example, the RPPA funding was approved by select board for 900,000 for 60+ communities.
The ARPA funding, you said.
I mean,
RPPA, okay. Good job, guys.
The ARPA funding was approved, May or June of '22? And 300,000 of that was to go to the feasibility study,
Correct.
which finally now has been, you know, you finally now have
Issued,
proposals.
yeah.
7 proposals back, and now those have to be vetted and then move forward. So that's gonna be almost 2 years just to get the feasibility study results back, which impact this decision as well. It's
I mean,
just,
that's, I don't disagree with that. Things take a long time in town
Things take a
government.
long
Things
time.
takes a long time in town government. And, last night we heard at the Recreation Committee meeting that how certain courts have been neglected and certain things get pushed off because there's so much going on. And I understand that, and they understand that. Very well. Michael and Judy are volunteers in the town. They're not just pickleball players. They volunteer their time. And now they're getting to know more how the town works. Not that they didn't already, but and everyone else is learning at the same time. So recreation is a big committee that makes a lot of decisions for the town and for all ages, right? So they're looking at different people for answers, and I wish they wouldn't table it, but I understand it. But, so let's leave it at that, and then, if you want to clear out or have future agendas, I don't know, the meeting's gonna last.
I just appreciate all you've done.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
have been kicked down the road, you have fought through and persisted despite what you have faced. And I think people have to understand good intentions, that the intentions have always been for what's best for the community. And pickleball really is a great activity for the entire community. And speaking as a council on aging member, especially the 60+ community.
Thank you.
You mentioned that at the last meeting. I mean, I do think pickleball, more than most things, has an intergenerational aspect to it that I don't see in
Right.
a lot of things. So I think that and a community center really makes sense.
Yeah.
Together to be thought through as one piece. There's a lot of logic to that.
We helped support Unity Day at the high school in the fall, and we had 160 kids sign up for
And
pickleball.
that's great, that's great.
2 years in a row.
Yeah, there were 60 kids last year, 160 this
Oh,
year.
60.
So it's growing, so the high, it's growing at the high school level. So it really is multi-generational.
It's growing across
And
the country.
intergenerational. It is.
All right, guys, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. So we're.
Maybe we can invite Edge.
Yeah. Good to see you. How you doing? Right at that table. That's right. In those chairs.
That's
I said,
right.
I was good for rec committee. I said, I've been to more finance committee meetings.
Why
I can't
why
remember.
can't we have
Oh, it's funny.
Want to try to juggle? So Tuesday, is Tuesdays good for you guys? I mean, I don't care.
I think to me, we're talking about meeting with Edge and
Oh, yeah.
future
to invite
agenda
them in.
item.
Yeah.
I agree, I really think it's more valuable since select board actually is the one that makes the decision. I think it's more valuable that it's a joint committee.
I think that's cool.
Well, you brought it up and and I think it's a
great idea.
I think it's a great, I think it's a great idea because,
If we
see
don't
what's,
get- Yeah. Again, if we don't get them in December, then we start budget season in January. We're looking uphill.
Yeah.
If we don't get them in.
I don't wanna keep kicking the can.
No, I know, we got town meeting, and Chuck just said it, yeah,
What would be?
they just took a whole night away from town
They
meeting.
took a whole night away.
Um,
Thank you very much.
So-
That's great.
If town meeting ends next week, right, we meet every 2 weeks for the rest of the year, we take, summer's a bit of a slow time, so I can talk to Jackie, I can talk to Fidel and invite them to a December meeting.
I
Just to
joined
just to
you
give
and
you
we
guys,
will,
just to give you guys a heads up.
Yeah.
That, I think it's a good idea,
yeah,
right?
To do the joint or just
To
have.
do a joint.
Yeah, if you guys can come, you guys can come, if you can zoom in or whatever, it's gonna be a hybrid
I
meeting.
think that's great. I think that would be helpful. And then I think, honestly, my opinion is, once we get that information, then I was just looking up our criteria that we came up with a long time ago. And I think we can then take and use that criteria to rank order numbers we think the select board should consider for that property. And make a recommendation. I would like to make a recommendation that they hire, who knows when, a planner to actually plan that property out appropriately.
We have one on the committee.
Yeah, I know.
After we flush out the RFI, I mean, that's after we flush out
Yes,
the RFI.
exactly. And that would be my recommendation at the end. We rank order things and then suggest with these things that we've rank ordered, It might be.
I agree, I didn't go into this, it's gonna be private public.
Right, no,
I like the idea of it, but does that make sense? I have no idea.
But the other thing too is, do we need to hear the decision from the Burbank Ice Arena?
I think we do.
well,
Simultaneously.
can I ask on that, because I'm really confused on that, don't we own their land?
But they have a lease, they have a
But
lease.
how long is their lease?
20 years.
years.
They just re-signed.
We can't do anything.
What a shame.
We can't do anything, and we can't do anything.
The other thing that came out at the recreation, I'm on the recreation committee, that came out at that last night was there's been no negotiations
Yeah,
yet
that's ridiculous. Oh, okay.
with our PPA and the ICE authority. This is all based on a offer, I think, through Carl.
Yeah, it's kind of like,
Yeah,
let's,
he made the offer
Yeah.
and said, let's do it. And I, honestly, that's probably where it all went wrong, in my opinion, is that the process of
they
them
got
offering
excited,
something.
they got excited, somebody offered them land.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
Carl,
yeah,
I'm not
right.
disagreeing with that. I
Right.
just think that perhaps Burbank should have given a heads up first to the select board.
I wasn't part of that, correct.
Right, but you know what I'm saying? I think
Looking
it's that
backwards, yeah,
process.
looking
Yeah, it's that
backwards.
process.
Retrospect is always.
Yeah,
right,
always,
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 right.
But
Yeah.
I think that attitude that, yeah, this is our land, it's for the town, it's for the benefit of the town. And I'm, the 20-year lease, even though there's a 20-year lease, if it's for the benefit of the town, there's gotta be some value in that.
Well, that's,
So I think, if it's pickleball courts, it's great. I really, honestly, I think it's great. I just don't know if that's the regulation or not.
No,
and that's why,
Referee, FinCom, everybody is saying it's the best.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that,
Oh, that.
right behind the building, right
Specific
behind the specific.
I'm talking Symonds Way.
no, I'm agreeing with you. I think it's a perfect location. They've got the noise of the guns
Guns, yeah.
anyway. It's great. But is that the physical location it should be in? If we can move it this way, maybe
And
it's
it-
better, or if we move it this
And
way,
it will cost more.
maybe. I
well,
don't know that.
I mean, right now, well,
If
whatever.
you move it
It's-
this way, you're gonna go into the road.
I don't know, but that's where there was some conversation of moving the road or eliminating part of the other road. So there's so many things up in the air
Well,
that
there
we
always
can't
has
answer.
been. The
But having a
RFI was-
planner
The
say,
RFI was always up in the air, the
Yeah.
feasibility study
Yeah.
is always in the, it's.
so all of this is now kind of sort of settled a little bit. We have all these great ideas. I think it's time to wrap up our committee.
Yeah, yeah.
And say, select board, this is what we've come up with, this is what we've thought about, this is what we suggest you look at next. And then it's in their plate, and they probably won't do anything, and the pickleball courts are gonna open in spring, and that's fine.
All right, so that's our future agenda.
Well, I wanna make a suggestion, because Nancy, an architect mind thinks a lot differently than
Yeah.
us common folk.
Let's do planners.
I think it might behoove us, we got Thanksgiving coming up and town meetings, so let's kill those 2 weeks,
It does.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe it behooves us, just throwing this out there, to have a meeting amongst the 7 of us, if Heather can come. And we talk a little bit more amongst ourselves, right? About the RFI, about
Which we
criteria.
haven't done yet.
Right.
Right, and the criteria associated with all of this, yeah, that's a great idea.
I-
We talked about it, but there isn't much information in the proposal.
we kind of, my
We
take
said
on
this-
that is
it was-
ice rink, sheet of ice, and a pool are the main 2 focal points.
That's because they.
And the turf and redoing the field.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 components that I took away from the RFI.
So these guys are not gonna spend a lot of money and giving you anything other than saying, hey, yeah, we're interested, yeah, and these kind of
Okay.
things will work.
Right,
So unless we ask them to come in and say, why are those things working? And what else do you think might work? We won't know the depth of what they're proposing.
So you think
I think
that
that-
first?
I do, I
Okay.
think having
I do.
them come in.
I'm just,
And then it'll all percolate itself out. If we really feel like, oh, these guys are just.
Yeah, when they come in, we may say,
Yeah, forget
let's
it.
go do something.
this is gonna be a long dance, right? I'm trying to shorten the dance.
I know.
Right, I'm trying to-
Longer dance.
I'm trying to-
realize that.
I think meeting with them and hearing their commitment and is behooves us to do first. And then we could.
Okay,
discuss.
I'm just,
I mean, because I don't think discussing without really understanding their commitment and.
Yeah, and always is.
and I think we're gonna puff piece again, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm
And
afraid
that's
of-
what if we
Usually when you give a proposal, you hand in your written version and then you're invited in to present it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And that's what we're doing.
I'll work on that.
and
I'll work on that.
they may be more, what's the word, like exact, more,
Specific?
thank you.
Yeah.
If the select board is also, if
Yeah,
it's
they-
a joint,
I
Yeah,
think it also.
I got it.
if they see that there's real, that the town is really invested in hearing what they're proposing.
And they have to impress us in the sense that they're really excited
Yeah.
about something.
Yeah,
I
And
know.
if they get us excited, that's great.
All right, I got it.
Like
All right,
Andrew,
and
I
then-
haven't eaten yet.
What, did everyone look over the minutes?
I did, I do have an
I moved
issue.
to-
No, no, no,
Oh,
no, I have an issue. Oh, yeah, you can move
Move to approve the minutes.
second, but I do have a discussion.
Okay, second,
Under the PPA section, it says, it was explained, the question was, we discussed the FinCom vote. We were surprised by this. I was surprised by the FinCom vote. It was explained that most of FinCom felt they did not follow procedure when going about this and are jumping in line of other projects that need to be done first. I don't think that's accurate. I did watch the FinCom meeting and that did not come up about jumping in line of other projects.
who made that statement in our minutes?
That's
They never say, they really abbreviated minutes. I just
What do
think,
you like?
yeah,
Yeah.
I just think, so it was secondhand, we didn't have anyone from FinCon explaining their vote.
The chair
So-
did come on, was it the chair that came on afterwards? He was
Yeah.
on, yeah,
The vice chair.
the vice chair
Yeah.
was on
Oh.
Zoom.
He was on Zoom.
And so
He
he
said it?
said it, yeah, he explained.
Okay,
I
see,
had said,
was
I
on
wasn't
Zoom.
there, and
I
I
was on
said, I would imagine that it had nothing to do with not wanting pickleball courts. He confirmed that.
So all
Right,
the
right.
FinCom is supposed to do is advise town meeting on expenses, not whether it's a good idea to have
Right.
pickleball.
So that whole thing, I just would like to see jumping in line of other projects that need to be done first. I didn't hear it said, I was
So
there
let's
by
take that
Zoom.
out, and I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
just
think
take that
it's
out.
said.
And it
Okay, so can you, since I don't have any note taking right now, can you send what you want to
yeah,
to
just take
Caitlin?
out that last
Caitlin?
phrase.
And we
the end
can
of the
vote
phrase.
on them the next.
I mean, oh, yeah, why don't we do that?
We can
Why don't we
vote-
do that?
Or we could
Yeah.
vote, approve it as amended.
As amended, yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Approve it as amended.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Do we ever, I know some type of constant, if someone comes late or enters or leaves early, so should I add in there that I left at whatever time? I don't know.
Oh, that should be in there, yeah.
Yeah,
So
you,
let's approve these next time.
Okay.
and then-
yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, and so.
These are really abbreviated notes.
But they're informative.
They are very abbreviated.
They're all disposable. That's why you
Yeah.
make them
Yes,
very brief.
okay, great.
All right, do I have a motion?
Adjourn, a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we're all in person, all those in favor?
So we don't have to go through the roll call.
Thank you, guys.
All right.